Rapata, Om Amun Rapata, Om Amun Rapata, Om Amun Rapata. Attack.
Well, thanks for you all presence here this evening again. And we're about to go back to our studies in terms of Amun. Let's see what we can get out of it, right?
Right.
We speak last week in terms of the downfall of Egypt. And this week we want to look at the rising of Amun. Like I said before, sometimes because we are a spiritual group, although sometimes we go across into the political thing, but we try to stay more in the spiritual arena as much as we can. So sometimes the question of dealing with a lot of data and history and all of that, while it comes across, but then at the same time, we try to, you know,
well, not so high, just low.
turn the history
You can just
into...
put it on low.
That's low.
That's low. Okay, so leave low.
I'm just checking to be absolutely sure that is low.
Is that too high for you? Oh, no.
You're right.
if you all could hear me.
Yeah, that's the only concern. I want to make sure you.
All right.
Go ahead.
So we want to look at Amun because we belong to the Amun temple, and we want to know a little bit more about Amun. And I'll make a little reference to this book, nothing too much into it, where we are in the book. And as we can see, we have Amun is hidden. And if you would observe why he's called hidden, there's a picture there where a man is hiding behind something, right? What did they say it was?
It looked like a wall.
Yeah, it looked like a wall, right? So this is it here. This is Amun here. This is his name. This is the determinative here. This is the god Amun. Also Amun here with an abstract. And this personality here is hiding like behind a wall, as I said, right? But his name is Amun the Hidden. Good. So this here is showing him as a hidden, right?
Okay.
And according to the scriptures, Amun is hidden from gods and men. No one knows his name because he's a hidden one. No one sees Amun because he's hidden. But they feel him, right? Well, if we look at this very carefully, we don't see God, right?
No.
But what we're looking at here, Amun in the sense as a hidden. He is hidden in what I would consider to be hidden in nature. Because nothing exists without God. But you don't see God as how you see I and you, right?
Right.
But you know God is hidden in whatever existed. So Amun, God of the double throne, the two lands, King of the gods, is hidden. So why is hidden? Yet for all, he is in the presence of you at all times. Because you are a part of nature, isn't it so? And because you are a part of nature, then Amun is right there with you. Amun is not far from you because you and Amun is one. He is what is considered now the hidden aspect of you, the individual. That's why we seek so much to find ourselves, as we would say, right? We want to know ourselves, right? Because of that hidden aspect of ourselves that we're trying to discover. And that is Amun. The hidden consciousness or hidden aspect, or the God, or the hidden God within us. Everything in nature, everything in creation is a manifestation of God. So everything is God in the sense. Nothing could escape God because he has or she has nothing to compare. As Amun says, no one knows his name. He was not begotten. There was no father, no mother to say, well, this and this is that. So which means there is no comparison. You cannot make a comparison to say, well, God, Amun, look like this other God here. Before, you understand? So it is only Amun and Amun alone. So everything that we see existing has to be. I mean, if you look at yourself very carefully, you're in a house, right? And you end up with children in the house, right? Use the parent in the house, right? Before there was anything, no one could say, well, this one look like you and this one look like you, because there is none. But when you began to bring them, then they say, oh, this one resembles you, this one you understand? So they all becomes a part of you. So they all DNA from the DNA, you understand? So we are the DNA aspect of the divine. You see? Because we are the thoughts of God. God existed based upon, we existed based upon the thought of God. The primordial ocean. Amun coming out. So Amun in himself create the primordial ocean. And from the primordial ocean, he pushed himself out as the God now. So which means the vibration in consciousness is what is causing what we call waves. And in those waves is what is causing creation. Look at yourself, thoughts. When thoughts start moving within your mind, right, it falls in the primordial ocean. It causes so much waves that you rise within your imagination. Good? And when your imagination starts kicking up along the line, then you begin to apply what we call more deep cognitiveness into it, because now you want to put that idea into action, right? So you're creating now in the waves in the consciousness. It's waves in consciousness that is bringing forth all along the line. And that's the thing. So you are creating just like the God Amun, because you are Amun. You see? What happened to us along the line, we get conditioned. And because we get conditioned, the mind becomes conditioned. And because the mind becomes conditioned, we become ignorant of who we really are. And because we become ignorant of who we are, then we develop that which is called egoism. And in that state of egoism, then we begin to act in ways that has, let me call it, has nothing to do with our core nature, the essence of our being. So in one sense, as they say, we acting, as the phrase goes, we acting outside of our nature. See? What we need to understand is to bring back balance within ourselves. When we bring balance within ourselves, then we'll be able to have a better handle on who we are. You know, sometimes when the thoughts and ideas coming through our mind, sometimes we want to run from it. We want to pitch ourselves into different places. Oh, I can't take it. Too much thought, too much ideas. Oh, this happening, this. No, bring balance. Let's learn how to balance yourself. And the more you learn how to balance yourself, is the more you're going to make sense out of yourself. But you have to do that with, it's not something easy to do. No, it's not something easy to do. Because it could push thoughts all along the line. That's why people suffer from depression and all of these things. Why? Because as the saying go, they sweep it under the rug. You sweep it under the rug and come back to bite you some other time. You understand? So you must be able to deal with it straightly, but you must have balance in what you're doing. If you don't have balance, then you're going to falter along the line. And that's where Ma'at comes in. Ma'at, you have to have Ma'at in order to stand upon that pedestal of Ma'at, which you have to have righteousness within you. Or as a matter of fact, you have to learn how to manifest your righteous nature rather than always expressing that conditional nature. That conditional thing, you know, we always hear, you understand? Expressing this thing, you know, well, I is this, I is that. In one day, you could be about 50 different people. Oh, yeah. You know that? And when you go home in the night and you really look at yourself, you're still looking to see if you could add some more. You know that? Oh, that shows you're not really, you're not established in the self to know who you really are. So you catch yourself identifying with things that has nothing to do with you, the individual. I identify myself with a car. I identify myself with, well, my job. I am a banker. Well, what make you, that's not your identification? You're doing a job, right? That's all you're doing, a job. That's not your identification. But when you identify yourself as a banker, then you start walking around as a banker now. Everybody meet you, I'm a banker. People, well, you know, I'm a banker. And that's the way you're going, you understand? You know, where you carrying yourself. I mean, where the banker leading you to? Whoa. You see? These are a conditioning of the mind. The mind is conditioned to identify these things along the line because why? We're using our, I say the waves. So we're using a lot of emotion, feelings, and all of these things in order to bring about this thing that we call this identification. So I feel this way, and because I feel this way, I began to vibrate in this way. And the more I began to vibrate into that thing, then I begin to become, let me put it this way, it become a kind of a callous thing. It get, you know, rigid. You understand? So I keep walking around with that type of idea in my head. And I can't break it. So what we do, eventually, what we call that now, you develop a habit. And as they say, habits are easily being formed, but very hard to be broken. See? So all that we're doing then, so we can call it behavior. So let's look at it from the point of habit. If then it's habit, then we got to change that habit because we're developing habits, right? So we have what we call good habits, bad habits, right? So we want to fall under what we call good habits. So we want to change what is considered to be bad habit and go into good habit. And for us to do that, we have to have what? The Amun consciousness. Amun rise, the power of Amun.
That's right.
History of the dynastic ancient Kemetic. We have here the Old Kingdom. We have some dating here, 5500, 3500 BC. Now these are just a timeline line. You understand?
5,000.
Good. Intermediate period, Middle Kingdom, 11th dynastic period. Second intermediate period, 15th dynastic, the Hyksos. New Kingdom, 18th dynasty, beginning 1580 BC. That's important to us. Akhenaten period, 18th dynasty, end 1336 BC. Ramesside period, 19th dynasty. Persian conquest, 25 BC. Greek conquest, 32 BC. early Christian Roman and Christian conquest. So we just have an asteroid, right? Because Christian period kind of started when we look at the timeline in like in zero.
Yeah.
You see? So Amun, looking at the 18th dynastic period, Amun start coming into power as from the 11th dynastic period. Amun was always there, but he was not an international god. He was like a little, what we call a local god, right? He was just a local god. But there were so many, call it, conflicts, revolution if you want to call it, or wars or fights among, if you want to call it, tribes and all of these things. So inside here they had the north and the south fighting all along the line. And the ending, coming up to the ending of the first intermediate period, Amun start rising. Why? Because Ra, the people no more think from the north, which the way the Nile run, it run from the south is in the north,
Yeah.
and the north is in the south. You understand? So Ra, in the sense, was no more respected. Why? Because the people of the south, they was able to conquer Ra. So Ra was no more respected, and then Amun now come into play because they was the people who followed Amun, the whole priesthood and everything. So what they did, according to the history now, they began to incorporate the different gods along the line. They didn't cast out Amun. They didn't cast out Ra. Then Ra becomes a part of Amun. So then we come and we have Amun Ra. See? So Ra come back now and gain respect under Amun. So he gave him respect again because he now is with Amun, and because he's with Amun, then he gains respect again. And the power, Amun began to rise. From this point forward, Amun grew in significance both locally and nationally. With the tumultuous first intermediate period over the prosperity on the rise, Amun found increasing resonance with the Egyptian people. Now that kind of statement, with the Egyptian people, as if to suggest Amun wasn't Egyptian, right? Well, Amun was always there, as I said. He's known in all parts of the world. In the then known world, in Libya, Syria, as a matter of fact, he had what they call an oracle in the Isis, somewhere in the desert. You see? He was always from in Ethiopia, Nubia, all part of the place. Amun was always there. But again, he was just what? A local god.
What does that mean, a local god?
Well, as I said, he was just a god of a little country, or a little part of the country.
Okay, so he was sort of like Lord of Egypt or Lord of...
Was not the whole of Egypt yet.
City god, kind of like a
Yeah,
city.
if you want to say a city. So like we have Rock Hill here, right? So he like the Lord of Rock Hill.
Okay, so he's like the president of Rock.
Of Rock Hill.
Yeah, okay.
You understand? But because they find resident, why they find resident? We had a problem. Well, you could call it a problem. Akhenaten come on the scene. And when Akhenaten come on the scene, Akhenaten stopped the worship of Amun. Somewhere along the line, the priesthood get corrupted. People start worshiping all different, they had all different kind of gods, they're doing all kind of, you understand? So Akhenaten began to think to himself, well, you know what, one God. And he come up with the idea, Aton. But what he did, he moved